If there was one thing that I learned at PAX East this weekend, it's that we are in the golden age of PC gaming. Every single dev that I talked to said their game is coming to PC. And when you combine that fact with the idea that, you know, we have handheld after handheld after handheld trying to compete for our attention, that tells me that we're in the golden age of handhelds. And whether you are a Steam Deck user or an ROG Ally user, or you're going to pick up the Orange Pi for $500, more on information on that in another video. It's a really good time to be somebody who wants to play PC games on a handheld. I'm not going to say that I didn't expect that, because this is something that I already knew, but it was absolutely something that felt cemented when I ended up talking to people at PAX. Speaking of PAX, this was my first time going to PAX, and I didn't know what to expect when I went there, but one thing I didn't expect was to end up in the hospital. More on that in a little bit.
Anybody ask me any, silly questions, you gotta beat them over the head or something.
What I will say is that I went and I had a blast. I got to spend some quality time with my son. We got to meet up with content creators that I admire. And we got to, most importantly, have a lot of fun trying out a bunch of games that are going to be available on just about every single platform.
Carrie,
yeah,
I was playing a video game.
Were you?
And you came, yeah, I know, that's the kind of thing that happens here, I guess. And you came over and surprised the hell out of me.
Whoa, look at this guy. This guy does.
Let me in.
My wife's in.
Finally meeting, huh?
Hey, how's it going?
And it was like you had already played this game.
I have.
Phantom
Fury.
Fury, thank you, Phantom Fury. What'd you think of it?
I loved it. I really liked it a lot. So it's well, I'm just gonna go right into it. It's like Duke Nukem. Picture Duke Nukem, but kind of going into that. So it's a sequel to Ion Fury.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Phantom Fury is like, along that universe, but they're blending elements that were like Duke Nukem-ish. So you have like that build engine feel, but they're incorporating like Half-Life elements into it. So even when you're getting hit, you have the same type of hit markers of where the directionality of where you're getting hit, just like Half-Life is. And then you pick up stuff and interact with things like you would in Duke Nukem, but also in Half-Life. And it's a nice marriage between the two, and has that same type of boomer shooter aesthetic, but more in the vein of not as all guns blazing, guns akimbo, shoot everything that's in front of you. I mean, obviously you do, but there's things that you're interacting with and you're trying to get around.
Yeah, you can like pick up stuff, and you can like I think you pick it up with E, and then you hold down right click in order to charge it, and then you can chuck it at stuff, chuck it at guys. I love the aesthetic that they're going for with the like super pixelated like art on the walls and stuff of the devs and that kind of thing. And I also really like it's got a super wide field of view.
Yep.
So it feels like you are very fisheye as you're playing.
Yep.
And then it feels like you're moving fast, like you did in old shooters.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the fisheye thing is definitely going to help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the part that I was loving, and I spent 5 minutes of wasted time, but I totally tried doing it.
Pinball?
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, yeah. So there's a fence, right? And it was a little check mark. It says, go onto the main road. And there's a fence, and I see a main road in front of me. And I'm like looking at all the doors, and there's nothing there. I'm like, well, this doesn't take a genius. I turn around, and there's a cargo crater, cargo holder, container, right? but it has a padlock on it. So I shoot the padlock and it breaks and then the doors open and there's boxes there. I'm like, oh, of course. So I start picking up the boxes and stacking them up and trying to jump over it, but there was an invisible fence over the fence. And I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to do this.
No, you're not.
But I totally spent like a few minutes trying to get over it. And I was like, oh, I have to go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just got done playing Phantom Fury, which is published by Joystick Ventures and 3D Realms, and I'm here with Eric. And Eric, I got to say that game's really cool. It's itching that nostalgia bug that I'm always looking for.
Yeah, the team is really big into that era of games, right? So like they're trying to bring it back in like a modern way, keeping the design sensibilities, but adding a lot of quality of life improvements. So like, yeah, heavily inspired by like your like Duke Nukem Forever, Half-Life 2, Black Mesa. You got Quake style shooting and movement, right? So yeah, big inspiration for the game.
Yeah, so you like have a really wide field of view. Everything kind of almost seems fisheye, and it's weird because I haven't played a shooter like this in a long time where I feel like I'm moving really fast.
Right.
But most shooters today, you feel slow. You go back and play like Half-Life and Doom, and they're so quick.
Right. That was really important to the team. Again, like, so there's a slide. If you crouch while you're moving, you can slide around. People are coming through and like bunny hopping around the level. Like that was a big thing for the team. They wanted you to be able to like speed run through and have that fast movement, right, of the old school like Quakes and like Duke Nukem, right? So
I'm curious, do you have controller support planned for this? Because I played on keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, there'll be full controller support at launch, and that'll be coming on Steam.
And when is launch?
April 23rd on Steam.
Okay.
And then it's coming to consoles later this year. We'll announce a date in the future.
Are you going to be doing any multiplayer, or is it solely a single player experience?
Just a single player experience. Again, it's like a 10 to 12 hour campaign, probably like 15, 16 if you're looking for all the Easter eggs and everything, right? If you want to play on hard mode. But yeah, that's mainly a single player game.
Now, one of the things that I really liked is that you can play the games in the game. So what is your favorite game to play in the game?
I gotta be honest, it's the pinball machine, man. I'm a big sucker for pinball. So yeah, one of the levels we showed you, right, had a little arcade there, it had a crane game, it had pinball. The pinball machine, you can actually go interact with it, and you're playing pinball with a high score and everything, right? The crane game, you pick up the objects, they come out, you can squeeze them, throw them around, right? So
breaking in here real quick, because I wanted to take a second and talk about the microphones that I use on this video, which were provided to me by Rode. This is the Rode Wireless Pro system, and first off, they did not sponsor this episode. They don't get to see it ahead of time, but they did provide the microphones that I used throughout this entire video, and I have to say, I wouldn't have been able to make this video without these mics. They made the process of making this video so much easier. This is the charging case, which charges your microphones and your receiver anytime it's in there. The receiver is currently sitting on my camera. I'm wearing one of the two transmitters. The other transmitter is right here. Every single time that I was, meeting somebody and having them interview on the video, I would take this out. It immediately starts recording. I hand it to them and I say, clip this to your shirt with the red light up. And then everything was good to go. It ends up recording both microphones to separate tracks, which means that I can then edit them in post so that the volume is the same, and it just made everything easy. So if you are interested, even a little, in content creation, and you want to make sure that your audio sounds great without you really having to know much, then check out the link in the description down below. But if you want to learn more about the Rode Wireless Pro system, I have another channel all about content creation. And I've got a video coming out very soon about these microphones. They're just fantastic.
In the same area, they had Big Boy Boxing.
Big Boy Boxing, that's one of my favorites.
So that's one of your favorites. I didn't like it as much.
Okay.
I thought that the game is definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I tapped out real fast because I feel like it's just way too hard for me.
It's unreal hard.
Yeah.
So you have to try different bosses. Like there's like a prospector guy.
Okay.
And he's a bit easier. Like he'll just like take hits, and you can just kind of drill through him pretty fast. The only thing that I found, I don't know if it's just the demo and the game's not out just yet, but you only have 3 hits and then you're knocked out. And that seems unreasonably unfair to me, especially when bosses that you're supposed to like learn from, like Punch-Out style, if you just get hit 3 times, you're gonna have to keep on restarting the match so many times.
I didn't realize that was what the mechanic was. I just assumed that I hadn't seen the health bar anywhere. But there's no health bar. It's just get hit 3 times and you're done.
So far, that's all that there is. Hopefully you can get more hearts as you play through and you like,
right.
You know what I mean? Because as it is right now, there's the girl, she has like a mallet and she picks it up and she slammed on the left side. So I was like, okay, I'll dodge to the right.
Right.
And so she picks up the mallet, I dodge to the right, and she looks and smashes me. And I'm like, what the hell? So you have to basically wait until a split second and then dodge because that's where she's hitting. She's only hitting within a second. So I was like, okay, I have to figure that out. And then once I figured that out, I hit her. She had Superman and started doing like Macho Man Punch-Out style, the whirlwind thing, and just kept on going and going. So I'm ducking and ducking and ducking, and I get smacked again, and I only have one little heart left, and I was just like, it's brutal. But I really didn't like it, and hopefully in this video, you could splice in the Simpsons arcade.
You'll have to send me a video of it, because I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. And then, because it has that same feel, because Punch-Out is like that huge, large character, but in Simpsons, they exaggerate everything. It's super cartoonish.
Right, yeah, this is super cartoony.
And this is a game that I've wanted to exist for 30 years now, or however long. This is like season 5 or season 4 of Simpsons when it came out. But yeah, that's the aesthetic that it has. Definitely Punch-Out, but yeah, really like it.
I love Punch-Out. It's like
that.
one of my favorite games of all time. So what can you tell me about this game?
Okay, so Big Boy Boxing, it's an arcade boss rush game. Yeah, it's inspired by Punch-Out, definitely. Also by Cuphead. It's another one of the main inspirations. And basically, I mean, Big Boy Boxing is Punch-Out, but make it super, super wacky. I think the comedy is like very slapstick, very fun, very like comedic. It's very cartoonish as well. So it's like, yeah, it's Punch-Out, it's boxing, but it's got all these other elements that make it like super special.
So each player, each fighter that you're fighting against, each one is like a puzzle that you have to figure out?
Yeah, you can say that because every single boss has like these nuances. You have to like figure out their patterns, how they get to be beaten. Like for example, there's this boss that I have not been able to beat that's called Trigger Happy. It's this like very cute little girl that you think is gonna be like, oh, so easy, but then she got like a like a big hammer, you know, that she hits you with. So basically you gotta figure out like how do I beat her with that big hammer, you know? There's another boss that is like 3 kids in a trench coat. So suddenly the 3 kids like start getting off the trench coat and hitting you on the side, and you're like,
3 kids on a trench coat. Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
What platforms is it coming out on?
It's definitely coming out on Steam, on PC, definitely. But we've been getting a lot of opinions about how it would be amazing on a Switch or an Xbox and stuff like that. So we're definitely considering on releasing it on other consoles as well. I mean, it's something that we definitely thought about, but maybe it's something that we gotta get sooner rather than later, you know?
So on Steam, when is the release
It's coming out in October.
October.
On Steam.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's very close by.
So a couple of times in the video, you've probably at this point noticed that I have crutches. The crutches were not something that I brought with me to PAX. The crutches were something that I received at PAX because 5 minutes into day 1, I walked up to a dev. I said, hey, can I talk to you about your game? They said, yes, I'll be right back. I set up my tripod. I got a microphone out of my backpack by squatting down and opening up my backpack, as one does. And then when I went to stand back up, my knee just exploded because I'm old. So that's what happened with my knee, and that was day 1. That meant that day 1 was excruciating pain for the rest of the day. I'll talk about day 2 later on in the video.
What other games did you get to see here?
So Turbo Overkill is another game that I played, and that's something that Fan the Deck is definitely going to be loving. You have a a knee that can open up. And
wow, really? Really?
Yeah. And it becomes a chainsaw. So
I don't know if my face is in focus right now, but if it is, that was rude.
You chainsaw slide.
Okay.
So that's if you ever play like Call of Duty games where you can slide
Kind of like Apex.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You know how you can slide around, so this becomes weaponized, and you're sliding around into enemies that there's like chainsaw through them. So you can like be. They have enemies that are totally horde style, so they'll just like create a single file line to you, and you'll just zip right through them all.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's that. But otherwise, it feels very Quake-like.
Okay.
So very fast paced, super shoot 'em up. One thing to the next. It's just monsters in front of you. Your OP is all get out, and you're taking everything out.
Did you get a chance to play Bucket of Aces? I think it's by the people who make.
No.
This is an interest. I didn't get hands-on with it. I got some B-roll of my son playing it for a little bit, and it's a first-person shooter. Almost looks cel-shaded, but the characters in the game feel like they are two-dimensional, almost like they're paper cutouts. And as you're moving around them, the like you can see the other sides of them.
Oh, no, I didn't see this.
Very much like Doom. It's
Right. Yeah. How the sprites would just.
how the sprites would change,
Yeah.
but it is very cool, and I'm probably going to try and get down there and get some hands-on time with it. But that was very interesting game, and it's from the same devs that made. I wanted to say Overkill, but you said Turbo Overkill, and that's not it.
That's in the Apogee area.
Yeah, something like Super Kill or something like that. It's a game that my son's been playing, and I think it's called Bad Blood or New Blood is the publisher.
Oh, New Blood Interactive.
New Blood, thank you.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I went over to that area and I did all my PR schmoozing stuff, and I have not gone over there to play it. Today's my play day.
Gotcha.
I'm going through all the stuff and playing stuff today.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Fallen Aces is a game that I co-created with my partner, Jason Bond. He's co-lead with me. We work for New Blood Interactive. They make a ton of retro FPS games and just cool, unique game titles like Faith, Ultra Kill, Dusk, Medieval, Gloomwood, and a bunch of other stuff.
My son's over there playing right now, and because he's a big fan of Ultra Kill.
Yeah.
And when I was watching him play, I noticed obviously you have 3D objects in the game, but are the characters 2D?
They are 2D, yes.
So are they actual sprites, or are they 3D models that look like 2D?
No, they're actually rotoscoped. Rotoscoping is the process of you did take film footage or something like that, and then you just frame by frame draw over it, and it takes a while. But, it looks real fluid, so it kind of gives the impression that they're 3D, but they're really not.
And I saw that you have mouse and keyboard as well as controller support. Is this going to be Steam Deck compatible when it comes out?
Yeah, it should be. I think we've tested on Steam Deck, and it runs pretty good, but that'll be down the line a little bit. But yeah, it's something we're looking into.
Is it also coming to console?
Eventually, yeah. I think we want to just focus on PC right now, get a GOG and Steam release, and then probably move forward, probably looking at consoles.
And is there a demo yet?
Yeah, there's a demo that you can play online on Steam right now. It's not this one. It's a little bit older, but we'll be releasing within the next couple months, probably.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's where can people find it?
You can find it at, we have a domain name. You can find it at acesfallen.com.
I also got to see Dune.
I did not.
Okay, so they only had that in private areas. It's a survival MMO where you are you're a prisoner who is going to Araxis, I guess. You get shot down, and you got the sand, and the worms are after you, and basically they have this area where new stuff happens every week or something like that. People rush in to get that stuff, the raw materials, so that then they can build stuff in their own bases.
Okay.
And it's made by Funcom, which I guess they're the devs behind Age of Conan. There's a lot of Age of Conan stuff in it. But one thing that they said that I found interesting was that they didn't want to do that griefy PvP where, you log out and somebody comes in and destroys everything that you built.
Right, yeah.
Which that sounds great to me. There's areas that are PvP,
right?
But all the PvP stuff is super optional,
right?
Which I like that.
You make your character, and the character creation is incredibly detailed. Now, most of the time, I would say I don't really care so much about the character creation because most of the time you just end up looking at the back of your head. But I was very impressed by how, like the options that you had to make your character look the way that you wanted to. I thought it was very cool. After you make your character, then you go for like some kind of interview, and they ask you a bunch of questions, which helps you determine what is your starting class. But, and this is very cool, your starting class doesn't actually limit you to what skills you can learn, because there are NPCs out in the world that can teach you the skills of the other classes, and you as a player get to mix and match any 3 active skills along with any 3 passive skills. And I find that to be very, very cool. In addition to the tech tree that you can unlock as you progress through the game, you also have the ability to get items like anti-gravity belts, which will allow you to fall slower, so you can use like a grappling hook to shoot way up high and then slow fall down, which was very cool when they showed that off. Combat looks fun. It's a third-person shooter, essentially. And you also have to worry about, collecting materials and then turning those materials into, the things that you want to use to make your base. One thing about the base building that I thought was really cool is the fact that you don't have to have the materials in order to design your base. You can go through and design all of your base, and then other people can bring the materials and help you build your base based on the design that you've laid down. I really like that because there's been plenty of times where I'm kind of in the zone designing a base in a game, and then I run out of the material, and then I have to go and get the material, and you guys know me, I get distracted. So then by the time I come back, I'm like, what was I doing? Where was I going to put this thing? And I love the idea that I can build my base without worrying about what the materials are and then go and get them later. You can also use something that they're internally calling a copy tool, and you can take any base that you've built, make a copy of it, and then sell that base on the market, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot. And I think the last thing that I want to say about Dune is that even if I wasn't already predisposed to be interested in an MMO like this, I would be interested in this game. And the reason why is because one of the devs came up to me. I was easy to recognize because I look like a cartoon and I was on crutches. But he came up to me like hours after we talked about the game, and we talked for a little bit more about it. And he was just so excited about his game, and he really wanted to know what I thought of it. So I am exceedingly hyped for this game, and I cannot wait to get some hands-on time with it.
What else you been playing?
So there was another game that I liked. The name is escaping me, but it's an RTS game. Toy Soldiers.
Yes, I know it. I don't know the name. No, that's not it. It's
Toy something.
okay. I'm thinking of a different game. I saw the game you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's Toy something, and it's an RTS. But how they do it is a bit interesting because you're not painting the area with your mouse, so you're not like clicking and dragging to collect your troops. Instead, your troops are segmented off onto like the left-hand side and the bottom left-hand side.
Okay.
So you click them, and then you have this brush, and the brush you can make a formation. So if you wanted to do a triangle, they would line up in a triangle. And then you could put other people and do other formations, and that's what you kind of click them around to do these formations. So they pretty much align to, that's the whole gimmick of it. But
Yeah.
essentially it's an RTS light-ish because there's not, at least the part that I played, there was no unit production. You weren't like, creating a barracks that like just pump
Right.
out, infantry or whatever. You had like this set amount of things and you had to figure out, so it's almost a strategy RTS, you could say.
So it's an RTS game. The plan or the idea behind this game was to develop something a little bit more friendlier for people that are not used to RTS. I mean, RTS has been labeled as a dying genre
Oh yeah.
from a long time ago. But the concept is very nice. It's very accessible for kids. We had a lot of kids playing the game for a while, and even very hardcore RTS players have been playing the game a lot. Like we had a couple of people playing the game that used to play the StarCraft.
Oh right.
Oh wow, this is awesome! Finally, someone is trying to innovate in the genre. So that was the idea, making a more accessible RTS.
So you talk about adding accessibility to an RTS.
Sure.
Typically, these are games that can only be done on a mouse and keyboard.
Correct.
Does this support controller?
Yes.
It does support controller.
Yes.
Awesome. So
That's
how
a
hard
great
was it
question because nobody asked me that before.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Okay,
This
that
the
is
first one.
that is very surprising to me.
Yeah.
How hard was it to dial in controller settings on a game on a genre that almost never supports controllers?
So it was very hard, but at the same time, very rewarding, I would say, because we have the drawing mechanic, right? With the drawing mechanic, we can cluster units in an easier way, and then you just move the pointer from one cluster to another.
Oh,
and
okay.
things get fairly easy that way.
Very cool.
But getting all the technical side down was challenging at best.
How long does a match usually take?
So we have different maps and different battles. Each one can take between 15 to 30 minutes.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
not too bad. And what platforms is it going to be on?
So it's going to be on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and mobile.
Okay.
Mobile will come a little bit later, but on release, we are releasing on all those platforms.
Very cool. And is there a demo available on Steam yet?
It's available right now. It's different from the demo that we have here.
Is that one newer or is this one newer?
So this one is shorter.
Shorter. Okay.
Yeah, if you play the demo, it's probably like 10 hours. It's massive.
That's a huge demo.
Massive. And the reason why is very simple. We released the game on early access in March last year, and we've been adding content for a year. So we started with one faction. We now have 5 factions and 20 hours of content.
Wow. PvE and PvP?
So it's only PvE,
Okay.
but for release, we will have PvP.
So day 2 of PAX, I woke up at about 5 o'clock in the morning and my knee, absolute disaster. Did a little bit of research, found out that there was a hospital within walking distance of my hotel, so I walked to the hospital, went in, they did x-rays. The doctor said I may have torn off some cartilage or I may have torn my MCL or my meniscus. I don't know what those things are, I just believe them. And then I might need surgery. Now, I still don't know if I need surgery at this point, but they gave me some crutches so that I could walk around the PAX show floor with my backpack full of camera goodies and microphones and stuff, and carrying a tripod at the same time. And the tripod wouldn't fit in my backpack, so I had to carry it in my hand, which was really fun because then one of the legs of the tripod kept opening up and sliding out, which meant I had to stop over and over and over and put it back in. At one point, I got out my AirPods to call my son, just because it's easier for me to hear on those than it is holding my phone up to my head, to call my son and see where he was, because he was on the show floor. And I dropped one of them, and it fell on the floor, and I swore, and this guy walks up to me, and I looked super disappointed and pathetic, and he goes, "Do you want me to pick that up for you?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess so." It was a low point for me, but I do want to just reiterate that even though I ended up in the hospital and messed up my knee pretty bad at PAX, I still had an absolute blast. All right, back to some more video game coverage. Another game that I checked out was Astro Duel, which is this really cool multiplayer-focused Smash crossed with Joust, crossed with Asteroids. It's got like the controls of Asteroids. It feels like Smash Brothers because you get 6 players on the board all at once, but you also have like Joust mixed in with it. And if that sounds really weird, check out this interview that I had with one of the devs.
So I'm here with Rusty. He works for Wild Rooster, and they are promoting their game Astro Duel 2, which I love the look of this thing. Like, I've been standing there watching for a little bit, and the 8-bit or maybe 12-bit aesthetic for it. Yeah, somewhere in the middle there. It just looks really fun. How many players can play it?
Up to 6.
Up to
we
6.
do a full 6 players.
Both locally and online?
We don't do online. We're local only. Although we're out on Steam and Switch. On the Steam version, you can play with Steam Remote Play. And that's a way to be able to basically play online without us doing netcode. And they do a real good job with that, so yeah.
Very cool. And like it says that it's out now. It's already out?
Yeah, we just shipped 10 days ago. So this is like our first big release of sharing with everyone.
Right, and it's gonna be on Steam, and you said Switch. Is it also gonna be coming to the other platforms as well?
I don't know about other platforms, but right now, Switch, Steam, and Epic Game Store too.
Yeah. And the Epic Game Store, okay.
Already.
What's that?
Already out, yeah.
Already out on that. So give the elevator pitch of this game, because it kind of reminds me a little bit of Smash. Almost.
You got it, yeah. I always say like Smash and Asteroids kind of meeting each other. At the heart, it's a versus multiplayer. So you're trying to ships, dogfights in space, trying to shoot each other, and the idea is to shoot the ship and then shoot or run over the pilot. So it's kind of like you get 2 hits.
Oh, kind of like Joust.
Yes. So you have your ships have different abilities. When you hit a ship, it's kind of floating out in space, and then you want to shoot or run it over. But if you survive long enough, you can come back as a ship. Now the real twist is that it's also a platformer.
Okay.
So you can enter these gravity zones and start jumping around as a pilot. And you got a sword, you can pick up items, ship items, and it's basically a second duel that happens in the larger arena. The whole thing all takes place at once, both the ship and the pilot stuff.
So, like you said, the different ships have different abilities.
Yeah.
Do the different pilots have different abilities
too? They don't, but they can pick up lots of different weapons and stuff inside of the gravity zones, like shotguns, grenades, lasers, and even ship weapons to go back outside to be able to use.
Is there a campaign at all, or is it strictly multiplayer?
Yeah.
There is.
We have a co-op campaign called Bounty Mode, which is almost like a whole second experience. You'll fight enemies, you'll do jobs, you'll fight waves of monsters and stuff, bandits and the like, and earn cash as you're kind of unlocking progression through that.
About how long does a match take? So I sit down with my 5 friends.
I go 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
So it's very repeatable.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly,
very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm here with Justin from RetroWare, and you've got a lot of games on display. Tell me about your 2 favorite ones.
Let's see, probably Toxic Crusaders, which is based off the 90s cartoon, which is based off the 80s movie. It's a beat 'em up reminiscent of the Konami, Turtles games from the 90s.
Oh, nice.
So we have that one. And probably the Transylvanian Adventure of Simon Quest, which is, pretty much our take, our parody, our homage on Castlevania.
Right.
Yeah, probably those 2, because, we try and make a lot of modern retro games that felt like you thought you played them as a kid, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You feel like this could have been on the NES, but it's not.
Well, no, I meant your experiences playing these games as a kid. Like, you played some of those games you played then, and they're like, wow, this is actually kind of clunkier. This is we kind of fixed to all those problems.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we try, with the games we have, we're trying to bring you retro experiences with modern conveniences. So all of our games have the right save points and the right scaling and all that kind of stuff.
And no water levels.
Well, there's a few of them.
Yeah. So you talked about the Toxic Crusaders. How many players is that? Because that's a beat 'em up.
Yeah, that's a 4-player game, couch co-op right now, and there's 7 playable characters, including 2 characters that have never been playable for the old games that are on the NES, SNES, and Genesis.
Oh, okay. And then what about the Simon Quest?
Simon Quest is a 1-player game.
Single player game?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Single player experience, because it's much like, the old NES style Castlevania games.
Gotcha. Okay. More like Castlevania 1 or more like Castlevania 2?
A little bit. I would say a lot of the RPG elements of 2. I would say the play style of 4.
Okay.
You know, so a little bit. There's a little bit mixed in there, and a little spice that a Programmancer, the lead dev, did on that one as well.
Did you get to see Chronosphere?
That's right next to it.
Yeah.
I have an appointment at 4 o'clock today.
Okay, that one's really cool.
Yeah.
The one that you were just talking about, that's the one where I hurt my knee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and then I
geez.
went and talked to the people at Chronosphere afterwards. Chronosphere is very cool.
Neat.
Like it's like super hot gets mixed with a top-down twin stick shooter.
Oh.
So the world only moves when you move. So you get to like move and then stop and look around and say, I think I want to shoot at this guy, and
That's
you shoot.
cool.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'm a fan of that one. And it's
That
called
sounds awesome.
Chronosphere. What can you tell me is like the elevator pitch for Chronosphere?
So it's a turn-based bullet hell shooter. That's also roguelike. And yeah, your face is a face everyone does. It's a face I did my first time.
So turn-based, how is it turn-based and bullet hell at the same time?
So imagine if Superhot had a baby with Enter the Gungeon.
Okay.
And the baby grew up to be really gorgeous.
Yeah.
basically that, you know. So time moves when you move. Things get really, really chaotic. So you should really take your time between turns.
Yeah. Do you spend like action points in order to like move and shoot, or like how
No,
is
not
it
at all.
decide
It's
that?
just like, you know, at your pace. You know, you move, things move. You move, things move. You can wait, and then just to take a lay of the land, or you can just be like fast. You know.
Hey, just a second ago, somebody broke your demo's record.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So the game's kind of hard. And beating the demo takes like an hour. And some guy. So number one, we never planned for someone to be able to beat a demo like on his first run, and 4 people have done it. But more impressively, one dude just did it in 29 minutes.
29 minutes.
And I was like, what?
And is the demo available on Steam now?
Not yet, but we're gonna have a limited time demo on May as part of the Endless Replayability event. The game will be available for a whole week.
And what about Steam Deck compatibility?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what was your favorite game that I showed in this video? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then you're probably going to enjoy this video right here. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everybody.